Welcome. So, when I was growing up, I actually went to summer camp in Iowa, and on the way out there I saw a lot of these. Now, on a lot of barn doors, you'll see a crossbeam connecting two parallel lines here. I'm going to highlight that crossbeam. And you'll also see some crossbeams on these like farm fences a lot, right? And they're always intersecting these parallel beams that we have. This is a very common structure that you see in building fences or on barn doors, right? This crossbeam actually has a name, and that name is transversal. A transversal is a line that intersects parallel lines like this. Let's take a look at this. Okay, so I draw a couple transversals here intersecting the parallel lines. So interior, right, is whenever we're talking about inside the parallel lines here. Whereas exterior is whenever we're talking about outside the parallel lines. The way I like to think about this is if you were at a train station. If a train was coming, you would not want to be inside the parallel lines. So this is the interior. You would get hit by a train, right? If a train's coming, you want to be outside on the platform here, right? So this is exterior, outside of the train tracks. All right, so let's take a look at this. Here we have a little road map. We got Main Street and Central Street. They're parallel to each other. And then we got Transversal Road, which intersects these two streets here, right? All right, let's say Mr. Doherty is standing over here, and I'm standing over here, right? Notice how we are across we're across the road here, and we're both inside. You would then say that we are alternate interior from each other, right? So I'm on the inside, Mr. Doherty's on the inside, and we're across the road from each other. That's alternate interior. Now, alternate exterior here is if we were on the outside. Let's say I'm going to draw like a smiley face here. And across the road, also on the outside, here would be an alternate exterior. Right? Another example of an alternate exterior was here. If I put a star here, then across the road, also on the outside, here would be another alternate exterior. Likewise, these two spots right here would also be alternate interior. Okay? All right. The next word I want to go over here is corresponding angles. All right. Now, a game that I always really liked on the playground was Foursquare, right? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to extend these lines here. So I'm going to have a horizontal line here. I'm going to extend this line. This line is going to become our transversal because I'm going to draw another line up here. What corresponding angles means is that it's an angle in the same spot. So let's take this angle right here. All right. If I think of this square as being up here as well, then the spot here, its corresponding angle would be here. Notice that these two are in the same spot. Whereas if I took, let's say, this angle here, that corresponding angle would be here because it's in the same spot. See that? Right? We could continue this here. I'm going to start up here. The corresponding angle to this one would be here. Right? And lastly, you notice there's only one spot left. The corresponding angle for this guy would be here. All right? So, in reviewing transversals, I want you to think back to some of the stuff we've done with angles, right? Where we know that vertical angles are congruent. Some of the words I've used was like alternate interior. Alternate interior are also congruent. And we actually have a pair of vertical angles here. And notice that these two angles are alternate exterior, also congruent. So we end up getting a lot of congruent angles here. In fact, a lot of times, corresponding angles, right, are also congruent. So here are corresponding angles. They're in that same location here. Notice that the blue angle is obtuse and the red angle is acute, right? So in this picture, any acute angle is congruent here, where they're being vertical, right? We also have another corresponding angle down here. These two are corresponding. You could think of these two as being alternate interior, right? So all of the red angles are congruent, all of the blue angles are congruent. And if you use those words like corresponding, alternate interior, alternate exterior, vertical, those are all examples where you would have congruent angles. Any angles in this picture that are not congruent would be supplementary. Notice that the red and the blue, if you put them together, they make a straight line. Okay? A lot of vocab here. It's good to review some of that. Thank you for joining. See you next time.